Hi, welcome to this episode of Writing Academia. I am Leigh Hall, and we are in the middle of our series about talking about what it means to revise. And today I want to talk about finding a good reader, right? So when you reach a point in your work where you need an outside person to help you see things more clearly and to get a handle on it. And finding a good reader, having somebody tell you what's working, what's not working is very helpful, especially in the early stages of your career where you might not have enough publication experience to know sort of what the pitfalls or shortcomings are of your manuscript are. And so having somebody with more experience give it a read is always a good idea. But how do you find this person or these people? So, the thing is that you want somebody that's really going to be able to take the time to look at your work, tell you what revisions need to be done. You want somebody that's going to be candid with you. You don't want somebody that's going to be concerned about hurting your feelings or that's going to sugarcoat things, because you want your piece to be published, which means that it's going to be a lot better for you. It might be painful, but it's going to be a lot better for you if you find somebody that can tell you what needs to happen to the piece. So that, the likelihood of it getting rejected drops versus somebody who's, doesn't want to hurt your feelings and is being very nice and being like overly positive and doesn't really help you address critical issues in your work, because then, chances are if there are flaws in it that they didn't communicate to you, then it's going to come back rejected, and you don't want that. So make sure that you find somebody that has experience and with writing and publishing so that they're going to be able to give you the kind of critical feedback and support that you would need. All right. So, which brings me to the second point is be very mindful about who you ask to read your work, right? Don't ask your best friend just because they're your best friend. Your best friend might be a perfect fit for it, but not just because they're your best friend, right? Think about, particularly when you do something like this, the reader doesn't need to necessarily read the entire piece, or they don't need to read the entire piece closely. You might find that that there are certain aspects of your manuscript that are very weak that you need some help on. And so you might find somebody who has the background to help you address those, those weaknesses. And then you can say to them, right, this is what I want you to pay attention to. This is really where I want you to focus. You only need to give me, feedback on the first 10 pages, and the rest of it I feel pretty good about, okay? Or maybe the rest of it you're going to have somebody else look at, right? But the idea is that you don't just want to hand it over to somebody and say, hey, can you read this and give me feedback? But really tell people where you think that their attention is best directed, right? Where do you think your manuscript is really falling short, okay? And then when you get that feedback, it's just like when you get feedback with a revise and resubmit, you have to take it seriously. So I know there's been times when I've gotten feedback, from a revise and resubmit, and somebody finds a particular aspect of my paper to be unclear, right? And I think it's very clear, right? Even when I reread it, I'm like, I don't know what the problem is. I think it sounds really good. But that doesn't matter. So you have to learn to remove yourself. You have to learn to say, I might think this is very clear, but this person over here doesn't. And because this person over here doesn't, other people probably are going to have the same kind of problem. And I don't want my audience to have that problem. So I am going to try to, fix this up and do a little bit better of a job so it communicates it better to this particular individual and other people like that person. So take the feedback seriously. You don't have to apply every single thing, right? This is not a revise and resubmit situation, but take it seriously, really consider it. Don't be dismissive of it. And then finally, return the favor, right? So if you do this for someone and then they come back and ask you to do it for them, do it, right? It's going to be a nice opportunity to build a relationship that could lead to collaboration down the road. So finding a good reader, always very important. If you need to, if you have questions about writing in academia, about publishing, you can contact me, leahhall39@gmail.com. And please check out my blog, teachingacademia.com, where we talk about issues of teaching and learning in higher education.